Now that you have learned how to play the game, it is time for you to learn how to win it. Here are my 3 tips to help you start winning. Tip number 1, the point system. In Xiangqi, the point system is used as a gauge instead of an absolute value. Regardless, it is still important to know it generally as it gives you clarity of which trades are worth it. Starting with the general, here. He is worth infinite because if he dies, you lose. Common sense. Next, the advisors and the elephants, which are defensive pieces, due to their inability to escape the river, are valued as 2 points each. But do note that once you manage to kill one for free, the others should be killed, as they are meant to protect each other. Like this, or like this. Now onto the chariot. The chariot is by far the strongest aggressive piece in this game, due to its ability to hit far and wide. Let's say it's here, you hit 1, 2, about 10 squares, so it's like 9 plus 10, 19 squares in total. Due to its extreme potential throughout the entire game, it remains a constant 10 points. Next one will be our cannon. Cannon in the early game is a beast due to its ability to jump over pieces. So for example, it jumps like this, it jumps like this, it jumps like this, and once you get the back line, it's like everywhere, it's just free. Everything's just free here. Yeah, as the game continues the pieces starts to get traded away, the cannon's jump will become its downfall. Yes, it is still useful, but it will be a shadow of its small self. Just to show you an example, let's say you have say 2 generals with 1 cannon. You can't win this game. You can't win, sadly. Because at the best you can do this, which only allows you to take 1 foul, which the general already takes. So you can never win with a cannon alone. The point system will be 5 in the early game, dropping to 4.5 in mid-game, and then 4 in the end game. The point system will be 5 in the early game, dropping to 4.5 in mid-game, and then 4 in the end game. Now we have the complete opposite, the knight. The knight in the early game is a liability, because everything is almost blocking him. See, he gets blocked here, if he goes here, he gets blocked here, gets blocked here, gets blocked here, here. It is very difficult to play with the chariot, with a knight, because there will be openings where the knight will be targeted. So for example, like this. Let's say do this. So already, the person will now be targeting here. Although this isn't the best, but it's still some pressure from the chariot. But to show an example, you could have a theoretical endgame with this. So for example, here, if it's black's turn, he goes here, red's turn, if he goes here, it is a GG. Red wins the game. Lastly, but not least, the pawns. Pawns are the most complicated, because over here, at your side, they are only worth 1 point, and across the other side, they are worth 2 points. If you get close to the palace like this, or here, or somewhere here, it's worth 2.5, and the moment it goes to the back, instead of being worth anything, like in normal chess, it's worth 1. It goes back to the original value. With that said, let's show some examples such that you can have a better idea. So, just to show, in Chinese chess, I think there's an idiom which goes to say about how you should not trade a chariot for a knight and a cannon. So let's say it's like this, you can take the cannon, but you cannot take the knight, because the chariot is worth 10 points, while the cannon and the knight are worth at most 9 points. Now the next one will be about mid-game. So let's say we have this scenario where we have the cannon here, general. Let's say we have 2 chariots chilling by the sides, and he mistakenly places his knight here, or something like this. Here. You should take this for sure, because the cannon in the late games is not as useful in the like the early games, whereas the knight is more useful here. So you just trade for much more. It reduces its power to attack drastically. And last but not least, I have not even said this, but it's about the trading pieces for aggressive wins. So there is this end game called Xiangqi, which is basically sacrificing your cannon for both the elephants. Just to show, 1 cannon goes here, the other one goes here, which means that the general cannot escape, but it's a win. Even though the cannon is worth 5 points in the early game, it is still worth it because a W is worth more than whatever point system that we're talking here, right? Now, train of thought about this endgames, we can move on to the Tip number 2. Learn endgames rather than openings first. In a usual game of Xiangqi, there will be 3 stages: opening, mid, and endgame. Opening will have its own theory and it is primarily learned through experience. I will make a more in-depth video about them in the near future, but for now, this is something you could experiment and organically learn. Mid-game is by far the hardest to learn since there are too many moving parts and concepts to master all at once, which will be overwhelming for intermediate to beginner players. So the general rule of thumb is just don't blunder and just take their blunders. Lastly but not least will be the endgame, which is not only simpler due to the fewer pieces on the board, it is also the most critical to learn. Just by practicing some endgame puzzles, you will improve tremendously as you learn how the pieces interact with one another. I'll quote from my coach: "If you cannot kill, you can never win in Xiangqi," which makes sense. So here are some examples. First one would be the repeating cannons. So I will show this one. This is a very standard opening. Like standard as in is a lot of people do this, but the next few steps are not. This was just for as an example. So the cannons take the pawns. The pawns here. He goes here, he cannot go here, he cannot repeat you. Let's say he just moves his knight here. This is an endgame, because the general cannot move his advisors up, he cannot move his knight up, his elephant up. He cannot take this because this will still take, and that's a win for you. But most of the time you won't see this type, but this is still an important concept to know. It's called repeating cannons or Shuang Pao. Next one will be repeating chariots, Xiangqi Cuo. Similarly to how ladder mate works in international chess. If I were to clear the board, let's say I have a general here, I have 2 chariots. These 2 chariots can easily win. So over here, let's say it's black's turn, black move here, check, goes down, checkmate. That's it, it's just 2 chariots. Now, this is horizontally, vertically also works the same way. So if we clear the board again, push, put this here and here, let's say he goes here, okay, still checkmate. It's just the same lines. Now let's say we don't have 2 chariots because they're all traded away or something. We got Bai Nian Xiang, white base Q. Basically, instead of using a second chariot, you use the general to control one of the files. Usually you want the general to be in the middle, and then this way your other one can take the other file. Do note that it only works vertically because general is always in the middle. There's no way to attack it. Last but not least, let's say in this extreme scenario, all your pieces are traded away with just 1 point. You can still win. So for example, let's say black moves up. If you take the middle file, black can only move up or down. Let's say you go here, pawn goes here, he goes down, check. This is ghost sitting or 小鬼坐龙虾. The pawn will now control the center, and because as I said in the previous game, stalemate is checkmate, you win the game. Now tip number 3, going back to our previous opening, let's talk about my favorite tip. The middle path is the path of peril. Since the general is going to be stuck in the middle most of the time, your goal will be to strike in the middle for a fast win using the cannon, like this. So as I showed just now, the repeating cannons, you can basically strike them down and you win them quite easily. It is an extremely common opening to put the cannon in the middle, like I said, to allow the people to attack where you are most vulnerable. As such, when talking about opening, try to prioritize the middle pieces, let's say like this guys, instead of developing side ones. So moving here isn't as impactful of the game as when you move here, or you move here or here. The opposite will also be true since the opponent will also be trying to attack you in the middle. You must also protect your general through defensive pieces like elephant and the advisors. However, take this with a general rule of thumb. At some games, your defensive pieces will become the reason why you lose. So just to show some examples. So a very normal setup would be moving the cannon, and because of this, I can protect this one here instead of moving to the side because the middle piece is not getting attacked, and also moving to the side won't really help much. When given a choice to move towards the middle or away from the middle, you go towards the middle. So this will be quite a common setup. And I think here black has the option to go here, he has the option to go here, he has the option to go here. Yeah, usually we don't care about these guys. This is just one setup. The others will be, what about defensive positioning? Let's say I want to move my knight here, elephant here. So he might go, wait, oops. I go here, 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 just to protect the pieces. And later on you could have the advisors here, just to move up and just protect it from all threats. Because later in the game, let's say I don't know. There will be more pieces like targeting here. And then this one will be a very vulnerable spot, this entire line in itself. So that's why the advisors and the other firms are there to help you and protect it. Now here's another one, which is the counter defensive positioning. Do you remember the first time when I showed you about the sacrificing a cannon to actually have a win? So let's say we have this. Due to the nature of it, this one is called Meng Gong Hao, because this guy is trapped here. This one will actually just kill him. So the elephant will become the vulnerability due to your two advisors. As such, you should do take note if there is the cannon here, because this is one of those rare cases where one piece can be used to like win the game. Now, so these are the 3 tips for beginners to have as a general rule of thumb. Of course, there will be always exceptions to the rules depending on the positions themselves. As such, I wish you best of luck in future games while applying these tips. Thank you for watching, and please do consider subscribing. Thank you very much.